Okay. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning. I would like to give a warm welcome to our researchers to our second day of the research proposal optimization workshop organized by the Research Office in collaboration with Transcend of Faculty of Medicine, UITM. I am Shafika and I'm the moderator for today. Before I begin, I'd like to give you housekeeping notes. Kindly fill up the attendance link. It has been posted in the chat box. And at the end of today's program, please kindly fill up the evaluation feedback form before you leave. For CPD point, do not forget to scan the QR code, and the QR code will be given at some time during the program. You need to scan it using your phone MME apps. If you are unable to do so, they will be given Google form for you to fill in. If you want to ask questions, you may post your questions in the Q&A box, or you may raise your hand using the raise hand button and you will be allowed to speak. So for today's session, it will be recorded by the YouTube channel and also the Airmeet platform. It is also streaming live in the Research Resources Faculty of Medicine UITM YouTube channel as well. So for today's program, the schedule, we will start with a talk and continue with our mentoring session until 12:30 in the afternoon. And that will be the end of the workshop. So for today's speaker, he will talk on research team, budget, timeline, and the Gantt chart. First of all, let me introduce to all of you our speaker. He is Associate Professor Dr. Jamal Houssaini, and he is a Senior Fellow in iPerform Center of Excellence, and he is also Associate Professor in the Medical Microbiology, Faculty of Medicine, UITM. He holds a PhD in Molecular Bacteriology from Universiti of Malaya, and currently his position is as Advisory Board Member in IMMB, Innovation Coordinator, Faculty of Medicine, UITM, and he also a member of Department in Medical Education. So his publication records, he has 65 journal articles, 31 proceeding papers, 2 research books, and also 4 chapters in research book and also in microbiology books. And for the grants, he has 3 active international grants. And for national grants, he has been completed 18 complete grants and currently 5 active grants. And currently for the supervision of the students, he has graduated 1 PhD student and has 4 ongoing PhD students. And for master student, 1 ongoing so far and 4 has been graduated. So without further delay, please welcome Associate Professor Dr. Jamal Houssaini.
Assalamualaikum and good morning. Thank you very much, Dr. Siti, for the kind introduction. I'm honored to be at this platform to give this talk with the esteemed speakers that we had lined up. I have seen Prof. Harbinder, Prof. Musalma present at this stage. They are my mentor, my gurus as well. I get a lot of inspiration and a lot of what do you call it as a tips. Still like to refer to them for a lot of work. So I believe they have covered quite a bit, extensive amount on the topic. I'll try to keep it very simple and to the point today. Allow me first to share hold on, sorry, please. Okay. Okay, is it clear? Can you? Okay, is it clear, the PowerPoint? Are we okay with the PowerPoint? Because I can't see myself anymore.
Yep, we're good to go.
Good. All right.
Yeah, but now it's in the not in the presentation mode anymore. Just now it was.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. I was just trying to have a split screen. I can't get that.
Oh, I see.
Okay, we're still on. I was hoping I can have a split screen here and while I give my talk. Okay. Never mind. We'll put it on this. I can use the other. All right. Assalamu alaikum and good morning once again to everybody. Today, to this workshop, research proposal optimization workshop, I'm going to be focusing mainly on the research team budget, timeline, and Gantt chart. As we mentioned yesterday, we have had an extensive talk by the Professor Haminder, Professor Musalma, and others on the overall of the research proposal development and things on that. Uh, Before moving on, I will just touch a little bit on the purpose and the skills required for the research proposal. This is what we would like to reflect on this, and then related to the topics that we're going to talk today. The purposes of the research proposal. Uh, this one can summarize it in in this some of the few categories. What we want to do a research proposal. When we do a research proposal, it just the purpose is to kind of to propose a research project that will result in a significant contribution to knowledge. So we have to why we want to do a proposal. So we want to either come up with some plans or project that we have. We want to create something, and then we want to contribute because we are in the line in the field of the education. We need to come up with um, additional added knowledge in that area. And its other ones would be to formulate a detailed plan of the project, including methodological approach and theoretical framework. And next is to ensure the proposed research is achievable within the required time and within the available resources. This will help us to demonstrate that we have the adequate expertise and experience to undertake the project. Now, saying that there are certain skills required for us to conduct or carry out a research proposal writing. So, um, some of the skills we already have that it's there within us, it is with us, which is starting with the um, being the having the subject knowledge and some research skills. So we are all of the subject experts. That's why we're going to in that area we are the good one. We're good at it. We know we have done our masters or PhDs, and we have a good background in it. Now we want to embark into the more um, complex or newer ideas or newer methods there. So subject is here what we're going to do actually proposal give us that opportunity to exhibit our mastery of the subject knowledge and familiarity with the current research trends. That's again important that we have to be up to date, current with the research trends. And the other thing is the critical thinking skills. Critical thinking skills is a good research proposal displays the evidence of our advanced analytical analysis, evaluation, and synthesis skills, as well as the creativity and ability to combine vertical and lateral thinking. Communication skills also, the proposal will display our ability to express ourselves in precise and concise language. So it's this the whole thing. There is the whole process of the proposal is all connected. The reviewers usually can relate or understand or find by one reading and looking at one part of the work can relate it to the another and see how the flow is and understand whether the researcher is meticulous and then have gone through the whole process properly, and all this will be judged through the whole process of the evaluation. What is the content and structure of a proposal? Usually there's a background to the topic. I think this is extensively has been covered. We have research aim, questions, review literature, study the project design, timeline, budget, and expected outcome and impact. Now, again, I'm putting up this because what I'm going to be talking today, it's all related and relevant to all the other aspect. All it's kind of like link to the whole structure of uh, the proposal, and it reflects when you're doing the other parts, which I'm going to be talking about, your team members, or even your the timelines and the budget, all will reflect to the other component of the your proposal. It's all related. When once they read your research questions and your methodology, that will reflect in your what kind of team members you have, whether there's a suitable for that, and then it goes to the budget, whether you have the right equipment or right things that you're buying, and the methodology will decide whether the given timeline is enough or sufficient to carry out the kind of a project. So it's all related and it's all connected, and we cannot just get away with it and just like focus and concentrate on having a very good like a design of the work and giving a very good problem statement, but the other aspect of it like lacking. So it's very, very important for us to really focus and kind of like link all of that and look at it, each and every part of it are related, and actually makes sense with each, and it's like, they have to have that connection. Now, let me start with the research team that we talked about. Research team, um, most of this funding agency, they want you to, as the principal investigator, to include some form of your curriculum vitae, your CV have to be included. Now, if you're talking about, we refer to the FRGS, they have a built-in system, and they have, you can fill in according and appropriate parts that they need you to write, and they want you to fill up those things. What happens is most of the researchers, they take that a bit lightly, that background, about to tell everything about themselves. You might want to add, might be adding your work experience, your area of experience. You'll be writing about if any project undertaken or the co-supervisory work or co-PI ship. But sometimes you forget to write additional skills that we have obtained, or the courses, additional courses like animal handling, or certain uh, programs that which is might not be exactly under our expertise, but we have taken that extra step to obtain that. So this is good to add those kind of things as well. So provide a very useful information on the education, technical expertise. That's what I meant. Yeah, your technical expertise. What are the areas that you're good at, or what experience during your background that you have come through, or you have added additional ones that you learned through the years that you have learned. Research productivity of the principal investigator. What are the outputs so far? You have had any research or any other ones? Maybe as a junior ones, maybe we won't be having any PI ship, but we might have had smaller project supervisory, or maybe we have a co-supervisor with other people. So those things are important to highlight for us. And what is the other thing is need to that they require information to very, very specific. So we make sure to include, depending, now again I'm talking about the overall. Yeah, so sometimes FRGS, all the FRGS, CRGS, BRGS, they have the full list, and it's very easy for us to fill in accordingly. But some of them, they just ask, some of the funding agencies, they just ask you to send in your CV, attach your CV. So that's where the tricky part is, because you wouldn't know what exactly you need to add there. There you need to be more creative on what you want to do. Don't overdo it, going by bragging about ourselves. That's, but it should be in a very professional way. Too much of information, things that's not necessary and not required, we should avoid that. So this is about yourself. This is about, as a PI, what you're gonna be, what you're gonna be telling about yourself. But as a team, you need to have those team members on board, the team members always should be, you have to make sure that your team members are a balanced team. So you need to have uh, a mixture of senior members and people with that particular specific expertise. So your team should be a multidisciplinary in a word, or and be diverse. We know that nowadays just a single focal point of one aspect of the one project might not be so what do you call it as eye-catching, or sounds too much for the reviewers, because nowadays it's too competitive to go for grants. So we need to have a very good balanced team, or maybe some a seasoned researcher, good to be in part of your team, a professor or a person who has have a good track record related to your area of the work. That person can be like kind of like a mentor or advisor, but be a active member. Yeah, sometimes we just add a namesake wise, and then members might know that because this person is not very active anymore, or just like, so it's like uh, we need to have a person who's active in research and who can contribute to your work, at least in the in supervisory or overall looking at the project. One more point is here: if your work involves certain aspect of like you need to develop a kind of a prototype, and it needs to build something about and to use and out to use it during the process of your project, include an engineering team member. If it has an IT aspect of it, might might as well include a member from the computer sciences, and if you need maybe from the statistics, or if it's a multidisciplinary just within the your own fraternity, it's medical sciences only, then you might want to see which aspect of it. You need a microbiologist, you need anatomist or something that they can help you with this, or physiology or biochemistry, biochemist that can help you, that they can to obtain or achieve that objective of your research. So it's very important. Again, if your research is well written and you don't have a proper team to carry it out, there is the funding agencies might not have the confidence that you can carry out this work, because the expertise lack there, and the team is not um, there to to carry out this responsibility. Yeah. Okay. Now moving on to the budget. Um, Do we take questions? If there are questions, please put it up. I won't be able to see, but you might be to read it out for me.
Okay. Currently, we do take questions, but currently we don't have
Mhm.
anybody asking at the moment.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
If there are any, please let me know. If there are anything, then you can stop me in between.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you. Now, so moving on from the once you build, you have your team members sorted. Even this is the first step before even we move to the, even creating your proposal. You maybe you just have an idea, you can put it down. Once you have put that idea down, you write a bit, then you start forming your team to expand that into a proper proposal. So every team member, every area, every expertise. Expert in that team will contribute to that aspect of the work. Then it makes it to look like, okay, this has been, this part is sounds, because certain part of it, you might not be, I mean, we don't have to be familiar with all aspect of it, as long as it's the idea that you have, and the direction that you're going. It requires certain other expertise to come in between. Then you bring them in. Now sometimes we might not want need all of them to be a team member. They can be advisory, or they can sometimes be uh, as under the consultation. Yeah? You don't need to always bring all of them inside, because so many different kind of expertise you want to bring in, and maybe it's not possible to bring them as a team member, but you may want to add or include them as your what we call it as the consultation, for, or you pay them for the services. Okay, I want your services to help me with this kind of thing. So that needs to be highlighted. Yeah. Now, I'm going to be touching on the budget aspect, because this is the most important part of the project proposal, because we call it, funding agencies. Yeah, so always the whole thing is about budget. Budget can be like kind of a make or break of your proposal as well, because if you don't pay proper attention to your budget, it can gonna break it. So the budget usually should identify the anticipated cost. Now we don't maybe have a proper budget at the moment, but we don't know how much things, but we can plan that accordingly. So you should have everything in that. So everything from I'll come to the contents of detail each one by one. I pick up on that from your salaries, materials, instrumentations, travel costs, and so on. That has to be required and be spelled out in the project proposal. So the budget prepared are submitted in be prepared in a table format. Yeah, but again, if it is your FIGS or all those ministry grants, so they have their own tables that you fill up, and they calculate accordingly for you and give you the percentage of how much that of the budget has been taken for that. So it makes our life much easier. But should that funding agency don't wouldn't have those kind of a system, then you need to have to come up with, okay, how much of percentage is gone for each of those categories, and put in the proper table form, so it's like pleasing to the eye, easier to catch, to see. All right. So the budget justification is just simply kind of like being it's very very important, but it's simply just like item by item why we need those, and that again reflects to your research methodology, as I mentioned. So when you put something, when you explain your whole research methodology, this will reflect that, from the sample collection to the special methods that you're going to carry out and things. So be very specific to those, and you need to actually pick up each one by one and write them, and explain for which area. Probably if it's best is to spell it out for this method, we need these kind of things and how much it would cost. So to always make sure that to ask what you really need. Yeah, because some of us, what we do is we underestimate the importance of working the thorough budget in advance of writing our grant proposal. So it is important that every group that they come up with their methodology, or it's good one person that be assigned in your team probably, yeah, to look into the budget and get your all the things that are required listed out. So check what are the resources, where the sources are, where you can get it locally. Do you have a local agents, or do you need probably to get sources from overseas and so on. And it's best that we do have a quotation from these agencies and add to your proposal. That will makes it, and then you maybe can put an average on the taking the inflation, all the things into consideration, and so on and so forth, the delivery time and everything. You put that average in your proposal, but you can add include some of them requires you to do add your the what do you call it as the invoices and so on, or I mean at least a quotation. Some they just don't, but if it's at, it makes them more confident that you have done your homework. I'm kind of guilty of this as well. Sometimes what we do is just a last minute filling up our proposal. It's like a deadline is approached, we don't have enough time to approach the agents to get send us the quotations. So what happens is that we just look into internet and just copy some things and put it up, and the price might differ on things like that. That shows that okay, these people didn't plan their budget very well. So unless the project is really good and fantastic, then they might give you some consideration and then just tell you, okay, just you need to redo your budget. But if knowing that nowadays the competition, the stiff competition, like, around securing grants, we know that they will look into every single detail, and they award to the ones which is most and the best prepared. So I understand this is a very, very crucial. We need do this in advance while we're doing our methodology. For example, we need to look, okay, where I can find each and every one of them and source them out and get the specific, what do you call it, as the amount that we want for that. Okay. So if we don't do so, this is really important, because if we don't provide these proper set monetary value, then we might not get what we want. Yeah. So we won't be able to get what we want, and we won't be able to work out with the things, because, as I said, unless your proposal is really good and your budget is a bit high, there, here, there, then they will decide, okay, um, we like the proposal, we like the idea, we like the team, but the proposal, the budget is not so great. So maybe we just, okay, cut and put them this much. They don't know how much they want to spend, so we just give them this much first. So that will, you have to sacrifice a lot on your work, a lot you have to cut down, because you didn't ask properly, and the agency has just put something that they feel right and appropriate for you. So that, most of the time we can't argue that, it's not disputable. So we have to just follow, or either we accept it or reject it. If the budget is way below your what is given to you, it's a tricky part. Yeah, whether to, should we accept this or no? You have put up a proposal for 200,000, and then they give you about 50 or 70,000. So should we take this proposal? Will it be justified? Because when they give you that, they did not reduce your objective, they just reduce your budget. So can I carry on and achieve those objectives with that reduced amount? So it's a question that a team, your team and your institution have to decide whether we want to proceed with that. It's very important, because you're taking a big responsibility to carry and provide, because at the end of the day, when they give you that budget, they didn't reduce anything from your outcomes and the objective. They still expect you to come up with that, but with a reduced amount, because we failed to portray or show in our budget that how important each of these things are and why we need it. So it's very important, I say that, to so that we won't be in the situation whether should I accept it or no, can I cut corners, then how to go ahead about it. That becomes a very messy um, process. A thoughtful budget demonstrates that your project actually is well conceived and likely to yield quality research, and quality results will come from them. If the reviewer feels if the reviewer feels that your budget is naive or it is overinflated, that can really work against you. Sometimes what we do is we have the tendency to overprice the 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 items. To be fair on our side, to be fair on to ourselves, because we wouldn't know in next few months how the change is going to happen. Okay, that's fine. But if for example, I'm buying an extraction kit which costs about, like, put it as 500 ringgit, I can't be putting it for 1,500 ringgit. If the inflation won't be so much within that coming few months, or that, as I said, it's good to consult or contact your suppliers that the possible inflations. So sometimes researchers, they do that and they put, like, I need extraction kit 1,501, but actual cost price is 500. And remind you that all the reviewers are researchers themselves as well, and it's not difficult to find how much all these things cost. It's just a click of a button, or they probably have their own students. They can ask, okay, we bought this, how much it cost? So there are related reviewers in your field, so they know all this, and so we cannot just play with the amount and just simply send them. All right. So be sure to think your this thorough your budget requests carefully, and make sure that all requests are thoroughly justified. We need to explain exactly how and why we need all these things. As I mentioned, if you doing a particular process, um, again, that has to reflect in your budget as well. and what are the things you're purchasing and where it goes. Now, outline the fund needed effectively, outline exactly what you realistically need from the funding agency. You might, some things required. Some of the parts you find maybe the trickier part, yeah. It might need, there is a possibility of like something going wrong or some part of this process. You might go into like kind of like repetition, or you might have to do again. So that part maybe you can explain additional why excess of that is required. Okay, so that can be added in the budget in case of, something goes wrong. You might have to repeat something, or you need to additional samples or things like that. That we can put for the questioning up so that you can achieve your objective there. Should that part doesn't work, then you can maybe channel it to the other and then change that fund that you receive for that particular aspect, then you put it elsewhere. Should be realistic, aligned with the agency suggested. Now, this is very important. We need to know what is the ceiling for every budget, every grant that we're applying for. We need to know how much is the maximum amount is set by the agency for that particular programs. And then for every and they have the percentage of every, like, for every category, how much of the percentage. You need to really look at that and set in accordingly. Sometimes without knowing, without looking at it, because we just sometimes recycle our budget, the proposal from one agency because it didn't get approved, and you put it another way elsewhere. So that's it becomes kind of like, we don't look into details, then it might not match. Yeah. The budget should align with the activities. This is again and again, I'm telling you, this is one part where the reviewers look the most. Sometimes they don't look as much at the how much the price of the thing is, as long as it's within the given target. But if it doesn't align with activities, and you do not spell it out properly, that's where we might be losing points there, or things like that. And our track record, of course, if you once we have, when you need to look, in the ministry, that we look at uh, how much you have spent in your previous grants, how much money did you left. Our spending and won't be able to complete is a bad thing. Underspending, you have spare a few more thousands or 10,000s more, like, to haven't spent yet, but you have finished it, your project, you have reached your objective, but you have finished it where you want, then that's a poor planning of your budget. The next cycle, we might not be able to receive the the funding from that agency. So we need to carefully spend, we need to carefully plan it in a such a way. It's a very, very crucial part, which usually quite a number of the researchers, they just overlook this part, and then they go on without even just like, giving it the proper thought. They just, a lot of us have seen, it's quite a number of the proposals I've seen, and including myself, as I said, I'm guilty of that. Because of the last minute, we have no much time, we just try to put it at just the amounts or whatever is okay, then we forget some of the most important components of that. Basically, when we talk about budget, it consists of the salary of the personnel, usually either the what we call it as research assistant, or graduate research assistant, the students. So these ones has to be again following the agency. Like if for FRGS, for example, they give you about 1,500 ringgit for masters, or 2,000 something for like that for your PhD students. So we need to plan according the spread of the, so because a big chunk of your funding goes into paying your student or RAs or the people who are going to work on that. So we need to write that properly, explain to them where this money going to go, and how much going to be spent there. Most of the research funding grants, they support this, but when it comes to private grant, and some of them might not be happy on that they have to pay salaries for your student or RAs. So we need to be very careful in on the private grants that we approach. We should see whether they have that mechanism or they support that. But if you look at the ministries one, they're always there, because one of the aims is to the outcome is to for you to what do you call it as the development of the knowledge and expertise coming out of that. So students and RAs are important aspect and most important part there. The researcher, some of this grant, this is not for ministry. We cannot put a salary for our team members, but the private grants does allow this. Private and some of the international grants, they do allow the researchers to take certain amount of money on for themselves on that, or to 10 times taken or such. So we need to read the guidance properly on what is allowed and which is not, because the wages and the payments are very sensitive there. You can take certain money for training. Some of them do allow that. You can send your RA or student to obtain certain training, but I suggest that don't put it too much, because they wouldn't be happy, so that they'll be putting a totally an untrained person to go for so many courses. Probably one training program, like maybe animal handling program, for example. One, okay, that's fair, because not everybody has that expertise, that not all the students will come with that. Consultants pay, a resource person pay. So that's I mentioned. When a person who's not exactly the team member, but they're an important component of your work, it has to be paid or carried out by them, then you need to pay them on the consultancy basis, or they will become the people who it's either one-off pay, or you have to pay them per services, that comes up. Equipment, very tricky. I suggest that if we never put any equipment, because almost all agencies are nowadays not very happy to pay for your equipment that's going to be parked at your place, unless and unless it's really depends, yeah, how big the equipment is, and if that's due, that equipment is like only used due for that duration and usually doesn't have that much of a life and things that but um, if you really want to something and you're going to put a big machineries and under your equipment, your developing your infrastructure, then they might not be very happy on that aspect. They usually want you to, again, depending on the grants that you're looking. If it is a smaller grant, FRGS, and so they don't really want to see you going, equipping your lab with something new. Okay, the supplies, I'll come to that. Communication, certain amount you can use for uh, the use of your media, cell phone, depending, because on this research aspect. Materials, software, medical supplies, copying, printing, these things. So depending again on what kind of work you're doing, there we can you can include these things. So as I said, it has to be a very detailed one. Everything that you're going to pay for, if you put it, you spell it out in your. If you see, like for example, FRGS has very small boxes description, and you have a places for attachment of your what do you call it as the quotations and so on. Some of the things we don't have quotations or exact, so we can just estimate on how much would cost some paper printing or materials, or this one for surveys or handling, or those things can add there as well. But then shouldn't be so much, because they expect you to have certain infrastructure background in your facilities that you can use those. Travel, yes, travels are allowed in some cases. Some grants support traveling, some for the research purposes. Travel in the sense, maybe like you have to collect samples, you have to go to the sites, and go. Those are needed. You can send your student for the tickets, or the traveling time that taken, all those things, the tool things and all that can be used as well. Rental of facilities, this is where I replace this with equipment. I would usually, if I don't have a particular equipment and I really need it for my work, I would either we can have this rented from the company. Sometimes they rent and leave it with you for some time. You can pay according to that, or you can rent a facility at a different centers, and then pay as you use. So that one you can put it again, you spell it out why you want to rent, why it is, it is better to rent this thing rather than, so you can justify that this equipment is not available within this organization, we're using that organization for so and so reasons and purposes and things like that, and it's quite feasible to rent it and do it. Or you know sometimes they might want you, like, okay, why you want to do this when we can send it for service, just ask the people to do it for you. Then you need to justify that. They might be thinking, well, how much, why it is that. All right, the other indirect costs and other expenses need to be put into consideration as well, because it's important for us uh, to know exactly how much we're spending, yeah, and other expenses. So this is what typically we get as our as the local research grants that can provide us. What 11,000 for your salary and wages, 21,000 for travel and expenses, rental for the 124,000, 127,000 research material and supplies, 129,000 professional services, and 35 accessories and equipment, which uh, again I have a kind of like not so keen on this area to fill up. Again, depending on this type, if it's your LRGS kind of a grant, then maybe you can include some things because going to millions, then some of part of it is justifiable. But if your grant is going around in 100K or 150Ks, it's best not to put any equipment there, because quite number of your grant going to go into the salary and wages and materials. We don't want to cut anything over here. Yeah, so we need to have that. Justify each item, demonstrate how the budget item aligned with the activities, and provide details on additional source funding. This is again one thing, yeah, I wanted to add here is the if you are, for example, have an added research grant, or you have a very small fund, like you're applying for PRGS, for example. This is what I did once when I got my PRG. I did mention I have a small fund from the university. At that time, they were giving me a seed amount to develop the prototype part of it, to just do the preliminary test, because PRGS doesn't support those steps. They want you to just test it straight away. They don't want you to do the fundamental work. So I did mention that I have a small fund from this to do these things, but I have need now this amount. So since there was a support, so it means that project that gives them confidence into the reviewers. Okay, this project actually supported by your organization or your some other funding agency that had enough confidence in that project to give you some seed funding based on availability of fund that they have. So it gives them the agency a more confident in giving you more fund. Now I think the university, especially our faculty, has a lot of this kind of supporting funds that we can embark into and start with, and then later from there take it to the bigger grants. So if you find, okay, that's down. Now, quickly, let me go through. I'm not sure how much more time I have. Touch on the timeline and the Gantt chart. So the purpose of the timeline is to demonstrate to the reader that your project can be completed within a period of time. So the timeline should be consisted of a series of your goals that you will need in order to complete all the aspect of your project, from initial research to the final editing. What is expected date of the completion, each and everything needs to be highlighted in your timeline and your Gantt chart. Timeline is timeline actually is not static document. So the timeline may change, yeah, because we suppose we were suddenly were hit by COVID, and a lot of program was changed, moved. So, but this was an unprecedented kind of a thing. But during a regular project, also we should expect, RAs or the students drop out, or then they facing issues, or we have technical problems, all those. So we need to expect and anticipate these ahead, and maybe we want to include a little bit a leeway or time given in our timeline as well. Researcher plan the section of proposal outline. The proposed plan or proposed timeline for conducting the research and the research topic. So we need, again, this will reflect, so coming back again to your methodology that you have put there. Every aspect of it will be reflected here in your timeline. So it's important. It's all like connected. As I mentioned, it's all connected. So conducting the your your research. So we mean highlighting your timeline. So it has to be very well planned. You need to look at every steps of your methodology, and since you know, and you can if it's not your part of expertise, you have to consult the experts, and how long that's going to take, if you're renting a space, when it's available, how long you can do that, and all that has to be planned way ahead. Now, the schedule for the various activities is vital for effective monitoring of a research project. Every major activity to be conducted over the proposed research period should be included in the activity schedule and should be allocated a fixed time span. Researchers' milestone should also be laid down. Yeah, and the Gantt chart is an effective tool for mapping the activity schedule. The use of graph, figure, or timeline clip arts in the section is visually improve the presentation of your proposed and uplifts the interest of the reader, and that may recommend for your the proposal or to be funded. So this is a very important aspect. Yeah. So we need now, they know you have a good proposal, you have a very well planned budget, but how you're going to execute all these things, it's reflected here. Now, the Gantt chart in FRGS, for example, is auto-generated. When you fill in each activity, please include every activity in the Gantt chart properly. You need to write what are the activities you're going to be undertaking, how long is going to be taking for each, and be realistic. And it should be within the given time of the proposal, the allocated time for the. If it is 2 years, then you need to plan your work accordingly. Sometimes we are ambitious or want to what we call it as impress the committee to say, oh, we want to do so much work. They might not be happy that the amount of work you have put in, and you want to do it in such a short duration, so that will put them in doubt whether, okay, is it possible for them to carry out this, because these methods tend to cause problem and things like that. So be really realistic and represent the entire duration. Your Gantt chart is very important. FRGS and all these ones, the ministries one, auto-generated, so easy for us. We don't really need to do anything. So it gives you a very clear, beautiful charts that the reviewers can see. Now, more important than this is your milestone. When you put in your Gantt chart, most researchers, what they do is the mistake they commit is milestone is just simply copy of every end of the Gantt chart that steps in the Gantt chart they have put up there. So it is like, okay, I want a sample collection, milestone, end of sample collection. So that's not your milestone exactly. You need to have milestones, can be few, but Gantt charts can be quite a bit, because your activities can be quite a bit in your Gantt chart and all the process and step. But your milestone has to be a significant step of your work that you reach, that then you have to write that date about when you're achieving this. Then again, this one reflects to your objective. It goes back to your objective, because then they will look at your objective and then you compare your milestone, what is achieved. Okay. So, and it doesn't have to be exactly the same, can be one or two extras, but it has to be something that reflect and when it's going to finish and going to achieve that. All right, so this is just an example of, like, how you prepare your work plan, you design and data collection, analysis, and then later final dissemination means working out. But this is our typical Gantt chart. Yeah, when we prepare, we put Now there's a lot of software available can generate for you, or you can just simply put an Excel sheet, or you can just create a table and just highlight the activities accordingly. Several activities that you can see, like uh, can kind of like overlap each other. So you need to when it's overlapping, you need to justify how this overlapping work going to be. How many people are going to work there? If you have, for example, two master students or two RAs, then it's possible to have quite number of overlapping, and some of the works simultaneously goes on. Yeah. So when you're doing some collection of the data, research reviews can go on, and at the same time, what do you call it, as the selecting of sites and things so on. So those can be overlapped. Data collection, then your data analysis especially, maybe you can overlap. But research methodologies, it's best not to overlap them. When certain work is carried out, um, unless it's related, yeah, you're taking a certain samples, you doing a tissue culture, then you're doing animal work, and the group is carrying that is different from this one, so they can go simultaneously. And even you might be wanting to include the time you're going to be submitting your analysis and your submission of final data and things and so on. Some of them might even want you to know when you're going to submit your journals and things like that, when your journal submissions and so on. All right. So I think with that, I've come to the end of the session. Finally, just to summarize what we just talked today, um, we need to have a balanced and experienced team members with an appropriate expertise. It's very important. Again, the team members are important. You need to search for a very good team. We don't have to be the expert in all the areas that of the project that we're putting it up, and it's good to select have a good seasoned researcher in our team, and that will give the confidence to the reviewers. Okay, it's a very challenging, it's ambitious work, but we're confident that this team can carry it out. We should give them the benefit of doubt because they are capable and they have a good expertise in going through, and then amount given to them is justified why this team needs to get this amount. Realistic and detailed budget, again, is very, very important on um, what kind of a budget we're putting. It's best to be detailed and reflect every activity that we do in our methodology that we have put there. So we have to highlight those and have a plan as soon as we do our methodologies. I guess that I suggest that we have team members to look into those aspects as well. Okay, how much the things would be, and where we can source them and so on, and to write each and detailed of them. So give the confidence to the funding agency or the reviewer that these people know what they're doing and they mean business. A realistic timeline and representative of the entire duration of the project is very, very important. So you have the whole thing, you have team, you have a proper proposal, you have your budget now, but a timeline is how you're going to execute and how long it's going to take. That's a very, very important aspect of your proposal as well. I think with that, I will end this session. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Jamal. Okay. This actually you
Thank you.
can, yeah, thank you for the great talk. And then we can continue with question and answer session. You are able to see the
Yes,
screen?
I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
see
Okay.
there's
All
a
right.
question
Great.
up
Yeah.
there.
Great. Great. So from Dr. Nurul Alima, can you show an example on how details the budget items under each vote should be written?
Okay, detailed. I don't have an example now with me, but I'd be happy to discuss during the mentor-mentee session if there's available. Um, this show example of details, the budget item. Um, as I said, if you're looking at the FRGS, they're giving you columns on the where you can write your uh, the what you call as the items, and there's a description part. In the description part, you can elaborate that. Sample collection, what are the things you need for your sample collection? You need swabs, you need probably you need the collection tubes and things, storage places, or if it is from somewhere else, the storage boxes or coolers, things. So we need best to write all those things. For when you do sample collection, you need gloves, you need masks, you need so additional things as well. So do include that as well, so that it shows. When you want to write your budget, walk through your what we call the methodology. Think about what is going to happen. Walk through that. Okay, we need to do this. How is this done? These are the things required when we set. So think at our and put down whatever is required. Every details of those things is required, from the gloves and masks and the collection tubes to the whole thing. So you put those and get a proper quotation for them. Companies will give you the itemized things. You maybe can have one list of the whole thing and put it down from each company. It's best to get some few quotations so that they give them the confidence. Then you can take an average of those and put it down there. I don't have examples at the moment to show you anything as such, but I'll be happy to later share some of my older FRGs. The last FRGs I did put a lot of details. Unfortunately, it was not successful, but I could share that later if you want to.
Okay, right. Thank you. So we do have another question from Dr. Choi.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. Good morning, Dr. Jamal. Thank you for your sharing. Can you further clarify again the major differences between Gantt chart and Milestone? How detailed it should be for both?
Okay, yeah. Thank you for the question, Dr. Choi. Very good question. The difference, actually, when you put in your Gantt chart is research, a series of activities that you're going to carry out. So that's exactly what you're going to do from your methodology. That has to reflect here. Every activity that's going to be taken from your researcher search, sample, where the areas, conformation, the type of samples you're going to be, the areas you're going to be covering, the team, or even uh, given even time for finding your research assistant and things like that. Sometimes it's good to put there. We really need to be realistic on where. What are the activities going to be happening, and then after that comes the actual work. Every step of your methodology has to be highlighted there, followed by the analysis. When they're going to analysis, start your analysis, your work, and then finally your reporting date. So this has to be within the duration of what the proposal, I mean the guideline of the funding agency is. Within 2 years, everything should finish within that 2 years. Now, talking about milestone, you will only reflect the major outcomes, what you achieve. You're not going to be calling okay, sample collection as one of the milestones. Yeah, it's not necessary exactly to me, but you need to write some of the biggest achievements. That one usually reflects your objective. What are you want to achieve? So you have 2 or 3 objectives, then you reflect that in your milestone. You write that, and based on your work, certain aspect of the work is important. Like, once you reach to that level, you have a certain analysis done, then that is your milestone. You put it there. You won't write duration for milestone. Milestone only will write the end date where it is achieved. Gantt chart, activities, starting date, ending date. That has to be put in the graph. But for milestone, only you put that particular things that you're going to achieve at the end date. Okay, at this date should be achieved after few activities. This one of these milestones to be achieved, and usually keep it simple. You don't need milestones to be too many and too long.
Okay, all right. Okay, we do have another questions, but yeah, there you go. Thank you, Prof, for the talk. How should we budget our study if it is based on questionnaires? It's from Dr. Azhar Isa.
All right. Just then again, what you really need. Okay, so because question is, you need to recruit, somebody's going to run this project, right? So you need a student, you need a person to run this program for you. You're going to either it's going to be a survey. It's online nowadays, it's much, yeah, but you need people to run for the student. I suppose that you're going to have an RA or a master student, somebody to going to carry it out. Then you need to plan for them to, what do you call it, as the salary to be taken on for them. So that's one aspect you can put. But questionnaire programs, it doesn't need so much of a budget. Usually you can smaller funds within, like, within the faculties and universities, that one you can apply for. But I don't think big grants will usually entertain questionnaire based proposals. Yeah. So if it is just a questionnaire based, I guess that your budget is very low, and that one you can apply for internal grant so that they can support this kind of because again, these are important, certain things that you want to come. So smaller grants or sponsors sometimes you can apply for, but the major thing is just that your time taken, or the consultants that you need, or the statistics tools or the statistician that you require, and if anybody really required to do any tools to create your questionnaires or something like that, then you can put those under your budget.
Okay, next question. Um, Salam Associate Prof. Dr. Jamal, what is your opinion on letting someone with no track record of research grant and only one or two publications as PI for FRGS grant, but other team members have strong track record? Is it acceptable? This is on research team.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bahia, for this question. Once one of the question, once I was attending a briefing by Prof. Dr. Bakar on this aspect. Some they said what happened is nowadays the ministry, or the for FRGS especially, they know that some of us are like the people, they put a proxy, yeah, because they want increase a PI or something like that, or they have the research team don't have or they max their grant or something like that, so they put others with no track record or something. But there's not major issue in that, when your team is strong enough, and the PI can be a junior PI, but the background and the of the PI fit the proposed project. But if we're using sometimes a person as a proxy to be the PI, because I want to run a project, I have some few grants already, I'm not eligible for the FGS grant, so I want to put somebody else, that it will be obvious. That is kind of like makes it a bit difficult at choosing somebody from different field or different faculty, or somebody who's kind of like no proper active or didactic role is highlighted in the proposal. Yeah, so the reviewers sometimes feel they can understand that one. But however, saying that, there is nothing wrong, because every one of us have to start somewhere. I started my first proposal. I didn't have any for my. Now that grant is no longer the ERGS. When I started, when I just joined UITM, had no grants. There was nothing else. I just put up there. I was a fresh, not exactly fresh graduate, but no PI-ship. I didn't have any national grant PI-ship. So, but I chose a team. I had a very good team member from UITM, a couple of them actually, and I chose two from Universiti Malaya with very strong research background, very good research track, and they were part of the team, even though they didn't contribute so much at later stages, because I could carry out the most of the things by myself. There was no issues, and I managed to secure that grant, and it was my first national grant. So you have to start somewhere. So there's no issue. They're not going to penalize anybody because you have to start somewhere. I hope I managed to answer the question.
Okay. Thank you, Associate Professor Jamal. So, are there any more questions coming in? So, not in the Q&A box, or not in the not in the chat box. Oh, okay. So that is the reminder for attendance link. Please fill up before you leave our workshop for today. Okay, so are they still coming? Okay. All right, so we are actually on time for our mentoring session. So with that, I would like to thank you, Associate Prof. Dr. Jamal, for your very great talk and extensive explanation on proper planning for research. And we are very grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and experience with us this morning. So with this, we'll allow the participants to go into their respective mentoring tables. And this will continue until 12:30. So that will actually close up our workshop for today. And finally, the research or proposal optimization workshop. Yes. So we can actually move on for the mentoring session. So
Thank you so much.
yeah,
Thank you for the team for giving me this opportunity. My pleasure doing this. Thank you.
thank you, Dr. Jamal.